Welcome to episode 4 of Feelings in Flannel. In this episode, we get into movie 4 as Amelia and I are counting down our top 5 rom-coms of all time. Stay tuned. Feelings in Flannel is hosted by me, Adam.
And what am I, chopped liver?
Oh, that's right. Feelings in Flannel is hosted by us. I'm Adam.
I'm Amelia.
And we are a father-daughter combo who are setting out to debate the merits of love, romance, humor, and faith in rom-coms new and old.
Listen and join us as we seek to name the top 5 rom-coms and discuss masculinity and femininity together and how that plays into role. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it with your friends on social media.
Stay tuned.
Okay, we're on episode 4.
Whoa.
I'm so excited about
So aggressive.
I'm so excited about episode 4 because my number 4 movie is so good.
Okay.
I love it.
All right. Well, don't spoil it. We got a rhythm. So for those of us, or for those just joining, maybe we're counting down our top 5 rom-coms, and Amelia doesn't know mine, and I don't know hers. Last episode, episode 3, we revealed number 5 on both sides. So if you haven't seen that, feel free to circle back. But for the men watching or tuning in, I want you to know that Mir's here, and it's okay. We can be emotionally safe because there's an axe leaned up against the table, and that is giving us comfort as men. So, what?
We discussed why it was called Mir before we started recording this episode. And
Yes.
I thought it was a random name that you picked and sounded a little bit not manly. But it's supposed to be named after Thor's hammer.
No.
Not an axe. Mjolnir, not Mir.
Mjolnir
Not Mir.
is Thor's
Hammer.
hammer. This is an axe.
Yes.
Named Mir.
But why?
Well, you didn't let me finish. You assumed that I meant Mjolnir.
No. You said.
No, that's not recorded. There is no record of what I said. What I'm saying now, as you let me finish, is Mjolnir is a hammer. Mir is an axe. It's Mjolnir's cousin.
But why?
Forged in the same fire as Mjolnir.
But Mir does not sound intimidating or masculine. So why Mir?
That's an interesting comment from someone who's not a man. I believe Mir sounds very intimidating.
Okay.
And because, I'll speak for the men here, we have to name it something a little more docile. Because the aggression that takes place when my hands wrap around that handle, I'm just saying.
All right, let's just move on.
Okay, we can move on. But I just want the guys to know we're safe. Mir's here. All right, so today, episode 4.
Movie 4.
Movie 4, and you ready to do it?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Rock, paper, scissors, go on, shoot.
Okay, don't hit the mic.
I apologize.
All right. I'm sorry, I was off. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. All right, 2, 3, 1. Wait. 3, 2, 1. Wait a second. Wait, hold on.
This is not that complicated.
All right, I'm ready. Okay, winner gets to choose who goes first, and I went first last episode, so I choose you.
Okay, my number 4 is, again, like I said, number 5. I have watched this movie many, many, many times. I've watched all of my top 5 many, many, many times. But this one, I will never ever get tired of this one. And it is a classic to, I think, anyone who claims they like any comedy movie or any romantic movie.
Okay. I mean, so far,
And
your setup has got me thinking we might have the same one.
yes. And if it's not on yours, I will be honestly surprised.
Will you be disappointed?
A little bit, yes.
That hurts a little.
Well, tough love.
All right. I'm excited because I do believe it's possible we might have the same number 4, which you know what that means. That means we get the full rest of the time to just talk about that movie.
Which is great because there's a lot to be said about this movie
All
if
right,
it's the same.
We'll see. So what is it? What's your number 4?
My number 4 is none other than Hitch.
Oh,
It's not the same?
it is not the same.
This
Ouch.
movie.
I will agree with what you just said though. It's a great movie. It's a great comedy.
It's a phenomenal movie.
It does have some romance in it. So yeah, okay, I'm with you. All right, go ahead.
Hitch is one of my favorite movies of all time, not even just rom-com. Because one, it has the romantic side. Not only that, it's a double. Well, really, he is the love doctor. So
True.
there's multiple instances of love. But in this case, there's 2 with Will Smith and Kevin Hart's characters.
Kevin James.
Kevin James, I apologize.
Yeah,
Kevin,
completely different
Yeah, I
people.
know.
Literally,
Both comedians, though,
Let's think
so-
about that just for a second. Kevin James, relatively plump, round, white dude. Kevin Hart is a short black man.
Yes.
Both hilarious in their own
Both
right.
comedians.
That was quite the flub. So
Yes.
Kevin
I apologize.
James.
I always mess their names up, and I was so confident too. So just pretend you didn't hear that and pretend I said it right the first time. I'm just too excited. My brain's running really fast.
All right.
So I love this movie because, like I said, it's a double, and the 2 main characters become best friends throughout the whole thing. So it's also a bromance. So there's 3. And
Okay.
it's cinematic gold. It's a masterpiece. Every relationship. And they have include the underdog story, the redemptive part for you with
It's there.
Kevin James, his character, getting this girl who's seemingly out of his league.
Yeah, kind of it's the doesn't quite belong, right? Doesn't fit, right?
Yes.
Not so much the redemptive side, because Kevin James in this movie was just a phenomenal guy already. Positive, energetic, great outlook on life. Just really sucked with
The ladies.
with the ladies. But honestly, great dancer.
Yes, I use those dance moves in my own life, believe it or not. I just used them at Brandon Lake's concert last night.
That's which move did you pull out?
The Q-tip
The Q-tip. Oh,
and throw it away.
interesting. In the middle of a Brandon Lake concert.
Of course.
Okay. All right. So, okay, back to Hitch.
Back to Hitch.
How's it filling your criteria? How's it hit? Let's start with Giddy and Girly. Like, how does it hit that? Because I'm not seeing that one right off the cuff.
Right. I think for me is the little moments with Albert or Kevin James's character trying to press Allegra Cole, his love interest. And he is trying so hard, but then it turns out that his true self, one of the parts, in a weird way that gives me a heart squeeze, is when he chucks his inhaler before he kisses her. Because one is so funny and it's so like, it just shows his personality.
It's the moment he shed that barrier, right? It's the
Yes.
moment he said, "I belong here," and he flips that dude down the sidewalk.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good moment.
And of course, with Will Smith's character, I'm currently blanking on his name. I know his last name's Hitch, but I can't remember his first name in the movie.
Alex Hitchens, I think.
Alex? Yeah, that sounds right. So he, meets the reporter, and the part that gets my heart is towards the end, when he keeps pursuing her, because she finds out that he's a love doctor she's been trying to bust this whole time. She feels lied to and whatever, and then he it gives me a heart squeeze when he becomes not confident when he's with her. Because with all the guys he helps,
Yeah.
he's like, this is what you do. This is how you say it. This is what to say. And then when it comes to her, the girl he's actually in love with, he can't express it. And you show his frustration of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me. And
Yeah, it's like his insecurities become so high that he becomes the client, that he regularly helps. If you look at Albert in this movie, played by Kevin James, he was fumbling around himself all the time. And now all of a sudden you see Hitchens' character, played by Will Smith, in the same spot because he's smitten, right? He's captivated by, I don't remember her name.
I can't remember
Sarah,
either.
I think, in the movie.
Yep.
But
I don't remember her actress.
I don't know her name as an actress. But yeah, I see what you're saying. That's a good one. That's Gideon Gurley.
Gideon Gurley.
Okay.
This one for me is a little bit different because it's more calm than Rom.
Okay.
But I love it because it works and I love Will Smith and Kevin James. So that only helps matters. And with my criteria of being known, he takes her to see, is her grandfather. I mean, it ends up blowing and being a big fail for him, but it just creates these fun memories.
He did his research. Right?
Yeah.
So it shows a lot of intentionality on the male part to communicate the value he saw in her, the love he had towards her by doing something specific. He took the time to do his research. Even though it was a fail, the message is still there.
Yes. And I mean, throughout the whole movie, he's just not smooth when he's with her. Oh, I mean, he kicks her in the head. We're on the jet skis. And one of the best scenes is when he has to drink that Benadryl because he's allergic.
Yes.
And another heart squeeze moment then that I just remember is when she opens up about her past and he opens up a little bit about he's high on Benadryl, but they have a really, really good conversation. And he goes out and gets breakfast for her and brings it back. And then the shift in this one is not as prominent. I feel like it's kind of masked in a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
But I think when they have that conversation, they both start to realize, he's pursuing her, but she's starting to let her walls down and believe in this love. And she starts to care about her appearance in that moment and starts caring about how is she being presented. And
Right.
then at the end, he won't let her go and jumps on top of her car. It's just a perfect.
That's right.
It's a perfect.
He took a
movie.
ride on her Mini Cooper at the end, right?
Yeah.
She's trying to get away, and he's refusing to let her go.
And he was honest and said, he's scared too, but they were gonna do it together.
Yeah.
And it's just the perfect blend of love and comedy.
Well, I won't disagree with you. It's a great movie. It is not my number 4, but I really thought it was going to be because I think mine fits in the same category. I think it's just an all-around great movie. It's funny, and whether you need a rom-com or not, it just kind of fits in there. I think Hitch, that's what you said. Hitch kind of fits in the same one. So my number 4 is a 2009 movie called The Proposal.
That's a good one.
I do really like this movie.
Oh, it's so good.
A couple things on this before we get into the criteria. Number 1, I believe it's Ryan Reynolds. Kind of really hit it with this movie, and now he's in so many things. I recently watched the movie If, about imaginary friends. He's in that. Anyway, he seems to be in a lot. So recognizable face, really kind of drawn to the character. He's a great actor. Sandra Bullock, phenomenal.
The best female actress, period.
Honestly, when Speed hit the big screen, she just went through the roof. And then another great movie, Miss Congeniality. What a phenomenal movie. Very funny. But yeah, and this one, The Proposal, I think it hits all the criteria. And I really, really enjoyed this movie. So kind of walking down some of the pieces, the redemptive part of it, I think we've got actually a little bit of a role reversal here. She's a powerful businesswoman, distracted, that kind of thing. And her redemptive is really learning to be present. It's kind of two parts with her family. And then in this case, in relationships, like interpersonally with someone on an individual level. And, I'm not going to describe the movie in great detail, but he is her assistant, right? Personal assistant, executive assistant, something like that in the corporate world. And then he plays the role of her boyfriend at a family thing because she feels so humiliated that she's still alone or something down that path.
No, she is about to be sent back to Canada, and so she lies that
Right.
they're getting married.
Right. So she was going to get deported.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I won't do it justice because the details are fuzzy, but it is a role reversal thing here, and the redemptive component sits on her side more than it does his. I think because they end up at his family. And so there's also this piece in there where she just doesn't fit. One, they're very, very wealthy family. And she didn't know that. He is her executive assistant. She just makes a lot of assumptions about his family and where he comes from. And those assumptions end up being wrong. And you learn that throughout the movie. But I think that's the belonging side of it. I can't really speak to the soundtrack, but I have my third or my additional is the creative and passionate pursuit. I think this is one that kind of is in some ways forced on them. They're because they're getting married, allegedly. They end up getting put in the same room. There's also this supposed disdain for one another. She's like the devil boss back in the corporate world. And here he is now having to share a room with her. And the sexual tension in this movie is palpable. And it's a part of what creates that pursuit, and that the turning moment is mostly, it's actually in both of them, because he thinks, I can't stand her as a boss. I just got to get through this so we can get back to life. And she's on the other side of, I'm just trying not to get deported. And then throughout the movie, both of their perspectives of each other begin to change in unique ways. And she really, by the end of that movie, gets folded into the family, and really becomes a part. And so back to the belonging bit. But I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's funny. Of course, the best scene in the entire movie is when Sandra Bullock ends up in the woods with
Betty White.
Betty White, classic number one. Betty White is awesome. She was awesome in Golden Girls. She's awesome in this. And she ends up doing this weird Indian ritual dance, singing a song. Betty White is just coaching her, okay, just gotta kind of go with what comes to you. And she's kind of feeling the rhythm as she dances around this and starts coming out with this rap that we will not include the lyrics.
No.
We will not discuss the lyrics here in this setting, but it's hilarious. It's a great moment in the movie. And those are the moments I think for us guys are going, that's hilarious. And I can buy into that. So The Proposal, number 4 for me.
This movie is so good. I love this movie and I own it. I haven't watched this one every year.
Is it in our list?
Yes,
it down here?
it's in the basket.
It's right here.
It is right there. And Hitch is right here.
This is wild. Okay. So this is my number 4. That's your number 4.
My number 4.
Carry on. What were you saying about why my pick is so great?
Well, it is so great, but it's not as great as mine. But
Okay.
it's so great because there are a lot of comedic moments, but also it meets my criteria with heart squeeze moments. And
Okay.
the shift, and of course there's a big shift, and the ending when he comes back to the office and, professes his love for
I
her.
do love that he could not stop the flight.
Yeah.
Like in that moment, most of these movies, you get to that point, like, oh, here it goes. Flight breaks down, weather, whatever. But in this case, that doesn't happen. He can't stop the flight. She takes off, leaves his world. And you're kind of like, oh, man, will it happen in the city back when she's devil boss? Or that's her reputation or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's a cool moment. But that is a part of that. Well, it's the result of the shift, I should say.
And it has that realistic component of, might not always. It's more realistic that he couldn't stop an entire flight. 'Cause sometimes they like, wait, please, and they're like, they would not be like that. Like, no, sir, we're taking off. They have a deadline to meet. So it's like that keeps that realistic component and shows, his determination to get to her, because he realizes, oh my gosh, I actually have fallen in love with her. It's not just a contract anymore, which in her head, she's protecting herself from the feelings, but she's like, no, it's just a contract. I can't do this to your family.
Right.
Because she didn't have a family, and his became hers. And one of my favorite scenes in that whole movie is when they are going to bed. He's laying on the ground, she's in the bed, and they get to know each other, and they just open up a little bit more vulnerably. I love that kind of stuff.
Well, in that moment too, maybe something to be learned, and for reference, this about me, but we probably have a lot of listeners that don't know this about me. I have spent 10 years of my career studying humanity and the psychology of human behavior and just psychology in general. And so, to me, I think there's a very human thing here to point out that is something that our listeners could take away and go, I can apply that. And 9 times out of 10, I would say the female is more willing to have a conversation with their mate that hovers around emotion, vulnerability, that kind of thing. Guys, not so much. It's not our bent usually, and that's not always the case. But for those listening, regardless which side you fall in that by gender roles, I think there's something to take away here in that moment. Even though you can see it, is understanding that in that scene, they're opening up and sharing from their experiences, hopes, fears, that kinds of things that are vulnerable, is in the dark. And there's this space like Mirror provides for me right now, is the safety that there's some masculinity up against the table here. It's like the darkness creates the same thing. You can't see me. And so I can share some things because you can't see me. And I think that's part of what, it's a great scene on the female side because of what you just started to describe. But on the male side, it's like I can relate to that because I can open up a little bit when it's safe. And sometimes just creating the safety in a relationship is literally change the atmosphere, the environment. And in this case, it's turn the lights off. So, and of course he was on the floor. So that helps.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think another method, is something that your mom and I still do today. We learned a long time ago is that if we need to have a conversation that is more difficult and have to express some perspectives or emotions, we do it via text message or email. And it just creates a spot where we kind of have agreed that, okay, we're not going to read, there's no tone in this. It's just, I need to say some things. And then it sets us up to be able to talk about those later. And I think it's the equivalent of lights are off in this scene that you have in the proposal. So
that's a good point. It's a great movie. But I forgot to mention, for Hitch, I put in my notes, and I quote, a bop of a soundtrack. Hitch has a fantastic soundtrack.
A bop.
Of a soundtrack.
All right. Well, Amelia, you proclaimed at one point that you were an 80s baby.
Yes.
You are not an 80s baby. In fact, and that comment says you might be a 40s baby. A bop. What is a bop?
Like a bop. Like a jam.
What was that?
A groove, a jam, a bop. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just trying to fit in with
I just want to belong.
not the Q-tip. Yes, it's so good. I have a playlist on Spotify called Soundtrack of Love.
But do you know what's the best song in Hitch, do you think?
My favorite song in Hitch, it's Now That We Found Love. And it's the end credits. I mean, that's their wedding.
Oh, and they're dancing down the aisle. Mm-hmm. That is looks like a bunch of bloopers, but who knows what it was. But yeah, that's a good way to end.
It's great. The whole I can't remember off the top of my head all the sound. Oh, I know. Don't You Worry About a Thing's in there. John Legend sings that version though. But the soundtrack just makes the movie even better.
I'm gonna have to bring it in episode 5. I'm gonna have to actually pull from the soundtrack because I do really like the soundtrack. I'm not really good at remembering names of songs, and that I don't listen to a lot of music. I like to drive in my car in silence. So, I'm gonna have to bring it in episode 5 with some soundtrack comments because you're really killing that.
I told you this is my niche. I've trained for this.
This is your niche. I will say before we wrap, Hitch. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. Mm-hmm. Period. So we'll see where that comes out in my top 5, but it's a great movie.
Fantastic.
Will Smith, phenomenal actor. He's good in everything that he's in, even the ones that I thought were going to be stupid. He has a way of making the movie. So great actor. You really connect to him, and I like that. So that helps. I will say that as someone who's checking down the boxes, I think it helps for the man's perspective. Do I like connect with the male actor? Like almost like, do I respect him? And I don't know Will Smith, but many of his characters, you learn to respect, and that's not, he's not that, but it fits.
Yes.
So anyway, episode 4.
Movie 4.
Check. Got it. I'm feeling good about the list. I really thought we were going to have a match on this one, but
I did too.
2 really, really good movies here.
That's a difficult one to debate.
Yep. We'll see. And we haven't even decided how we're going to figure out which one wins or how it orders out, but we will figure it out. So next up, episode 5, and we're going to get into movie 3. All right. Good episode.